Welcome to the Functional Medicine Foundation's podcast, where we explore root cause medicine, engage in conversation with functional and integrative medicine experts, and build community with like-minded health seekers. I'm your host, Amber Warren. Let's dig deeper. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I am so excited for this conversation, but I have to hit the bios first, and then we'll get into it. So Dr. Mark Holthouse, MD, is the Chief Medical Officer for FMI Center for Optimal Health and Functional Medicine of Idaho. He graduated from Loma Linda University School of Medicine and went on to obtain his family practice training at UC Davis Medical Center while in the Air Force Scholarship Program at David Grant Medical Center, Travis AFB. Dr. H has over 32 years of family practice experience and brings years of practice in the areas of functional and integrative medicine. As part of the Institute for Functional Medicine teaching faculty, he has educated thousands of practitioners in hormone health across the nation over the past 10 years. As an assistant professor of medicine at the teaching faculty at Loma Linda University School of Medicine, he is an expert on cardiometabolic diseases prevention, reversing type 2 diabetes, heart disease, high cholesterol, obesity, and metabolic syndrome. In addition to his clinical and teaching experience, he has over 30 years owning his own private practice as acting medical director, implementing strategic models of clinical practice and business of functional medicine. Dr. Holthouse and his wife Tammy enjoy photography, snowshoeing, skiing, sailing, hiking, kayaking, and of course, good food. Next is Hailie Kuttler. Hailie is a registered dietitian and a board-certified integrative and functional nutrition practitioner. She provides personalized nutrition counseling utilizing a food-first approach in preventing and reversing chronic health conditions. Hailie recognizes that sustainable change rarely happens overnight and strives to support and empower her clients on their path to better health. For many clients she has the privilege of partnering with, food has become a source of confusion, guilt, and stress. She is passionate about supporting people as they learn new ways of nourishing their bodies to achieve their best health. Hailie, a Boise native, holds a bachelor's degree in nutrition and dietetics from the esteemed University of Idaho. Her expertise lies in empowering clients to enhance their digestive health, achieve a harmonious weight balance, and optimize their metabolic well-being by employing the principles of functional nutrition. With a particular focus on digestive conditions like IBS and SIBO, Hailie exhibits a profound passion for the understanding and nurturing the intricate world of the gut microbiome and overall gut health. To further augment her knowledge and skills in functional medicine, she pursued advanced education through Integrative and Functional Nutrition Academy. In her free time, you can find Hailie experimenting with new recipes, biking on the Greenbelt, backpacking in the Sawtooth, hiking with her 2 labs, or curled up with a cup of tea. Welcome. I'm so excited to have both of your brains here in this room. So tonight we are discussing all things weight loss. We have been practicing weight loss, what we're calling weight loss 1.0 for the past year and a half right? We launched a weight loss program about a year and a half ago that has had tremendous success in this community. I have loved every aspect of it. Selfishly, I never knew I could love metabolic health more. And I've been doing it with the best of both of you. And now we're here to say, what have we learned? What have we done wrong? What have we done right? Because there's a lot we've done right. And we're here to announce Weight Loss 2.0. What are we doing in functional medicine to really help master metabolic health, right?
Yes.
So Dr. H, let's start with you, because I know you've really been the pioneer as kind of our metabolic health specialist here at our facility. What have we done right? What have we nailed?
I think that what we've done right has to do with looking at a holism when you come to this topic, as opposed to just a shot that you put in your stomach once a week.
Right.
We've been able to take a lot of the patients who have failed getting the Ozempic and the GLP-1 shots as monotherapy. We know there's huge recidivism where they gain their weight back as soon as they quit. So I think I'm really particularly proud of learning that it does take a macronutrient, it takes a gut understanding, it takes hormone understanding, optimizing what's going on with sleep and cortisol, what's going on with obesogens, toxicants in our environment that are preventing people from losing weight, in addition to low thyroid and things like that. So I think that what we've gotten right is we see sustainable weight success as something that comes from a very holistic approach, as opposed to 1 or 2 magic bullets. I think we've gotten that part of it right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's so much more that we've even learned even in the last year as far as nutrition, metabolic health, the kind of anti-aging precision medicine that we're now going to be implementing into what we're doing. Hailie, I know you have dove in deep into what these patients need from mostly a nutrition standpoint. Tell us a little bit about the program that you've developed that we're going to be definitely offering in our Weight Loss 2.0.
Yeah. So I feel like we've been doing a heck of a lot right. Amber, you were talking the other day about some of the patients that you've been seeing through the end, right? I usually have my 3 appointments and kind of get them rolling. And then I felt like I was kind of missing out on that last hurrah, right? And then you were mentioning, oh my gosh, Hailie, because I'm, thinking always how to make it better.
Yeah.
When I'm with people. And I'm like, okay, we need to have more support. We need to do all these things. And you're like, hold on. People are having success. It's okay.
Yeah. Sometimes I just have to slap you across the face and say, get back in here, Hailie. You're great. We're doing a great job.
Thank you. Yes.
But I appreciate your do better mantra. I really do.
Thank you. Thank you. So one of the main things that I noticed with the way that we have been doing things is that there is a huge opportunity for more structure, more community support. As practitioners, we're a little bit limited by that one-on-one time. But if we can get people in groups, we can really amplify those resources, right? The vision is, and usually what happens in these programs is that people can lean on one another.
Absolutely.
Right? They can kind of digest that information in their own way, apply it to their lives, and then share what they're doing and inspire the others. So,
part of you've done this beautiful write-up in creating this program that we've all been able to review over the past few weeks, and what stood out to me was you talking about how anyone's weight loss journey is a really isolating and frustrating process for them, right? And it's hard as us as practitioners to really be the voice for them and to help them feel heard. And that's where I think that community piece is so valuable because then they can sit in a group of people and feel heard. And Mark Hyman's done so much work on this topic of just how people heal better. And truly the data is that they do heal better and more quickly and have more success in a community setting. So I just love how you just laid that out in the program. You're just there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. People feel frustrated and lost and they need to link arms with people and say, we got this together. What are you doing to have success? What am I doing to have success? It's like the Facebook groups that about autoimmune disease and obesity and they get childhood cancer. Those are hugely popular groups because people we're built to be in community.
Right. Totally. Yeah. Yep. And it is one of those things that it can be a little bit shameful for some people.
Right.
Weight loss, it is something that almost every single person that comes to see me, they're struggling with that, right? Even if they were referred for blood sugar balance or something along those lines, I open the floor to them to say, what do you want to focus on today? And almost every time someone says, I want to lose weight.
Well, and clinically, Dr. H and I were talking about that last week too, right? Maybe their primary care provider refers them over or their cardiologist refers them over or their dentist refers them over for, oral microbiome, gut microbiome help. But it's almost always, I also want to lose weight.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
Yeah, that's behind all of the people that are reaching out to us in this clinic where, what do you guys do? It's often tied to, will it help me lose weight?
Yeah.
So, what was interesting that in our conversations, Hailie and I get to chat a lot behind the scenes. We task each other these messages and regarding patients, and it's so fun to work with you, by the way, where she will remind me, oh, I need to do that. It's great to have that second set of eyes. But she'll say things like, this person's relationship with food is really unhealthy. And this person has that caloric restriction mentality where the only way to be healthy is to eat less. This person's struggling with body image, not necessarily a full-on eating disorder, but there's so many degrees of that. So having that insight with an RD in the practice, using all the stuff we're doing with peptides and hormones and gut health and toxin evaluations has been phenomenal. Version 2.0, what we're working towards is adding some of these other things.
Absolutely. And also, and not to cut into this because this is a good divergence to where we want to go, but I think we've learned we need more commitment from the client, right? And not just more commitment, but also duration of commitment. Our first month program was a 5-month program with only, you said 3 visits with you, 3 or 4? 3, right?
There were 3.
3. Yeah. Not enough, not nearly enough if we're looking for nutrition to be this bring system of change, right? So this program is going to be more expansive. With you, it's going to be some true accountability, weekly sessions in a community setting, right? But yeah, let's start with just the as far as nutrition aspect goes, the calorically empty diet, the caloric restriction, the mindset around food. What are we where are we hoping to get these people?
Totally. Yeah. I see so many people who are malnourished probably from the time that they come to us because they've been in this chronic cycle of just yo-yo dieting. Their metabolism is just in the tank. I think what I want people to know, and we have a module on this, is metabolism is a nutrient-dependent process, meaning that we need B vitamins, we need choline, we need iron, we need a whole host of nutrients to make that work efficiently. If we are eating fewer calories than what we need for those essential functions, the body's going to say, hey, I guess we're not getting anything to eat today, and it's going to slow things down. So we're trying to do a little bit, almost like a reverse diet for a lot of our patients. Getting people to be nourished, getting people to eat more food and more of the right foods is really the biggest thing. So, really hitting on eating locally, seasonally, organic when possible, because those foods are going to be the most nutrient dense. They're going to nourish all those cells in our bodies, right? It is so fundamental, and it is so overlooked in our culture how important the foods that we eat every day are. Our culture says, eat less, weigh less, and people are hearing that message over and over and over again. We were talking a little bit earlier about certain generations really struggling with eating disorders, right? Yeah. That was kind of like, all the cool kids were doing it, and now we're into our 60s or so, and now, bone density is low. Their metabolic health is impaired because when we have low muscle mass, we're not going to be sensitive to soaking up all that good glucose.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I wanted to go next, was the insulin resistance, blood sugar piece. CGMs, they have to be involved now, right? Before it was kind of an optional,
non-negotiable.
If your blood sugar's high, maybe we'll bring a CGM in. Let's see if we can get your insurance to cover it. And now it's it's just part of the program. If you don't have good feedback on what your blood sugar does after you think this way, sleep this way, eat this way, you probably can't lose weight and keep it off, right? What other aspects, Dr. H, of insulin resistance are we going to be really trying to nail in this program?
Yeah, the classic type 2 diabetic overweight patient that has a lot of belly fat that they're battling with a lot of inflammation from that adipose tissue has dealt with insulin resistance, which is the inability to take glucose from the blood vessels and put it into predominantly your active exercising skeletal muscle cells. And when you lose that energy sink, it has to go somewhere. So it usually goes to the liver. And now we've got 33% of the US population with fatty liver disease, because that's where our food's going, because they're insulin resistant. Well, that's only one mechanism, come to find out, for high sugar. We've got a lot of what we call skinny folks that are metabolically obese. So they're not overweight, but their percent body fat relative to lean mass is high. And so they'll often have other things besides just a high-fat, typical type 2 mechanism where their fasting insulins are elevated. And we see this all the time now. Right. In particular, my female patients will come in, they're doing aerobics and 5 days a week, and they're this big around, and their DEXA scans say that they're osteoporotic, and yet their hemoglobin A1C is 5.8, 5.9, pre-diabetic. And so then we have to go back and look at other things besides that typical overweight mechanism of type 2 insulin that gets you there, and say, what else is going on? Well, what's your cortisol? I just, in the mainstream medicine literature, I saw something come across the other day that says hypercortisolemia a new cause for imbalanced glucose.
New.
I'm thinking this
What?
And this is so, eloquently explains where we've come from, is this kind of siloed thinking. And we have to learn to think broader. Wow. When I don't sleep well, my cortisol circadian rhythm gets screwed up. Not just my gut and inflammation and who grows there, microbe-wise, but also the health of my endocrine system. I'm going to have high cortisol. Cortisol is going to drive my sugar up. My sugar is going to be high. My A1Cs, my average of sugars over a 3-month period of time are going to be abnormal. And I might not be overweight. I might have a lot of toxins that are interfering. They're endocrine disrupting toxins, chemical toxicants that are in our air, our food, our water that we're all exposed to, and that are easily accessible with urine tox screens in functional kits. And we can see when we detox a lot of those folks, how their blood sugars come back down, how their LDL, which responds to the inflammation, the oxidative stress of the same issues, high cortisol, toxicity, stressful lifestyle, poor diet, leaky gut, problems with gut permeability. I mean, it was only about 10 years, not even 10, maybe 8 years ago when the gastroenterologist laughed at us for saying leaky gut, increased gut permeability. And now it's mainstream in the consults I get back from them. Well, it looks like they have an impaired small intestinal gut going on. And it's just interesting to see the evolution of thinking, which I'm grateful for.
Right.
But it's taking more of a 10,000 foot view of what seemed like a small system that was involved. One area, it's become many. So we have to look at all of it now when we talk about insulin resistance.
Well, and you mentioned, on the topic of toxicant screening, it's kind of like we said about the CGM, that chemical tox test is now in the program. Like it's part of the program. It's no longer an add-on if we decide later we want to do it because you're still having weight loss resistance or you've gained the weight back. It's it's something we learned we just have to screen our clients for, because guess what? You're all loaded with toxins.
Right.
We're all loaded with toxins that have to be addressed if you're struggling in your weight loss journey.
Something profound that she mentioned, Hailie said that you have to have micro and macronutrient support to be able to run your metabolism so that you can have optimal body composition. You also have to have micronutrient and macronutrient support to be able to detox through your liver. So many of those pathways require B vitamins and the right amino acids and the right antioxidants that you get through a good diet. So restricting really needs to go away. As a concept, there's, I think in a few remote cases, there's maybe a place for that that's very, very short and monitored. But as a default, it has gotten way too much attention. Over the decades.
Hailie, there's you really have brought this wonderful genetic test to the table for us. 3x4 genetics. That I know you've really mastered, and I'm learning it. I know Dr. H is probably really good at it as well, but tell us what kind of insights that genetic test offers for our clients, not only to get healthy, but to lose weight and keep it off.
So that is one of my most favorite tests of all, not just because I have spent a lot of time looking at it. So in terms of the weight loss picture, as Dr. H alluded to, detox is huge. So it's going to tell us a lot about how well, from a genetic standpoint, if we look upstream, are you wired to detox well? Yes or no, right? So how do we need to support your body to do that more efficiently? More cruciferous vegetables, more protein, whatever it may be. So that's huge. And maybe for those who are just kind of getting rolling, are just starting kind of at this wellness level, right? Seeing a dietitian, doing this 3x4 test, and then that appears that we need to look more into toxins. Maybe consider, more evidence to do that. But, the toxin aspect is huge. It does tell us a lot about, your propensity for potential for insulin resistance. So what is your, glucose insulin balance? Is that something that you may need to pay a little bit more attention to? I know it is so frustrating, right? I have a lot of frustrating genes myself. So to learn that information, it's a burden, but it's empowering, right?
It's very empowering. Yeah.
You know that if you try on a CGM and you get, not the best results ever, there are things that we can do to improve that. So yeah, glucose and insulin,
nutrient deficiencies, it tells you what you're more likely to be deficient in.
Yep.
So it really ties into the whole detox weight loss picture, looking at that test, which is amazing.
Yep.
Methylation.
Yep.
Methylation
She's always catching me with overdosing folate, which is great. That's what I mean by, another set of eyes, because everyone comes in, I've got that MTHFR thing.
Yeah.
What's
Need
it called?
tons of folate.
And they're on, 2 grams of, 2 milligrams, not grams, 2 milligrams a day of folate. And, there's data that it's associated with some malignancies if you're doing long-term doses that are really easy to get to and go over.
Yeah.
Both B12 and folate now associated with some cancers with overdosing. And people have been obsessed with getting B12 and folate because they've heard somewhere that it helps with the lowering homocysteine and the whole methylation. So Hailie's been instrumental in using that test genetically, looking at hypermethylators, undermethylators, histamine metabolism, and that's such an issue with driving inflammation and symptoms with food that she has to tease out. Is it oxalates? Is it salicylates? Is it histamine? Every day. So that test from a genetic metabolism pathway, what's your weak area has been amazing.
It's been huge.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
I just thought of something. I was listening to a webinar this morning from them, and they brought up a really good point that every single person experiences that sense of hunger and satiety differently. So on that report, you'll see this nice plate. And for those of us who feel a little, take a little bit longer to feel full, that plate's going to be really loaded down.
Right.
So, that's a key insight right there, that you're going to take a little bit longer to feel full. So to know that, to structure your meals accordingly, prioritize protein, all these things can be, so insightful. So I love that test.
The test, one of my favorite aspects of the test is it breaks down the most effective way for that client to exercise. Their response to exercise. And that we cannot ignore in the weight loss journey, right? Dr. H, I know you've spent so much time dedicated to this whole, intermittent fasting, especially these premenopausal women, but even postmenopausal women, too long of fasting windows, protein deficiency, the wrong kind and the right kind of exercise for these clients. Yeah. So what have we learned in 1.0 that we're going to do better and be better in 2.0 with regards to exercise?
One of the things that, especially with my beautiful women clients, I am deeply passionate about is anabolic resistance, which is really the idea that when you go through menopause, the same amount of protein that you ate as a premenopausal female, the same amount of exercise that you may have been or may not have been getting, isn't going to maintain the lean muscle like it once did once estrogen's gone. Newsflash, this is, I'm supposed to know some things about hormones, and I didn't realize till last year or so, estrogen is the primary driver of maintaining lean muscle mass in women. So when it goes away at age 50 on average, when they go through the change, a lot of things go wrong. They become, their body composition radically changes.
Right.
They start losing bone density very rapidly, which is part of that anabolic loss of not just growth hormone, which is slowly decreasing after about age 35, but also estrogen, which just takes a cliff nosedive at 50. They catch up with guys within a few years on incidence of heart attacks. Their skin changes, collagen, negative effects when estrogen is withdrawn. But it
sounds like a pharmaceutical commercial.
Right.
Like if you take this drug, here's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
like, can you stop with the list?
Awful.
And that's without even talking about the fact that estrogen is the primary regulator of glucose and insulin signaling.
And it's such a potent antioxidant.
So there's no wonder their cholesterol goes AWOL the wrong way. They get problems with body comp and diabetes tendencies and frustration with the way they look and feel externally when they go through the change. And not everybody needs to be on hormones, but
But a lot of people do.
It sure helps a lot of them. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that exercise, the right type of exercise, is going to be something we continue to build on in version 2.0, where it's high intensity aerobic efforts, maybe a little less zone 2, and a little bit more resistance training. Starting off with trainers that they can help with posture and form, so that it minimizes injuries, because they
need to lift heavy. This isn't just body weight or taking the Jane Fonda 2.5 pounds.
No, I always laugh. I say, those little kind of turquoise and pink epoxy coated things you got at the sporting goods store that are like 5 pounds.
They're
very cute looking. But those are paperweights. You need to do deadlifts and squats and lunges, and there are things that traditionally women are very intimidated by, not getting in the gym and not doing those kinds of things, because they don't want to be muscular, or they don't want to be, around all those guys. And I think that that's really changing, and it's long overdue, that women are saying, no, I want to own how I look and feel. I want to do it from an inside out perspective. I don't want to just spend all my money on things I'm doing externally. I actually want to anti-age from the inside out as well, which is going to not just keep me living longer potentially, but living better. So my health span is longer. The number of years that we actually we're living that we want to live, that you're disease-free. And that's what longevity is all about.
And not just disease-free. I think it's so empowering when you talk with your female clients. How do you want to feel in 3, 6, 9 months? But it's, how about 3, 6, and 9 years? Oh, you love to ski with your husband and your girlfriends right now? Do you want to ski with your girlfriends when you're 70 and retired? Like the bogus girls that go, there's just vertigals is what they call them. And they're so rad. I see them up there during the week. And there's like these retired 70, 75, some 80-year-old women that are just killing it on the slopes. Like, that's the mentality we have to have as women that are starting to have some hormonal changes, right? It's not just, what do I want to do now? Do I want to be able to pick up my grandkid off the ground? Or I love Peter Attia in his book. He talks about, like, do you want to be able to lift your luggage in the overhead compartment by yourself? Or do you want to have to ask somebody help by the time you're 62, right? Like, think about what you want your life to look like.
Yeah. He talks about percentages of VO2 max that you have to be now in your 40s and 50s so that you can do minimal efforts like walking the trails here in the foothills. When you are 75, 80, and if you're not in the upper quintile on VO2 max when you're 40 and 50, you won't be able to do that stuff.
Have you done VO2 max testing on yourself?
It's miserable.
Is it?
I've had it done before.
Well, miserable to do, right. Sorry, I thought you meant your results were miserable. I was like, there's no way.
No, results were good.
Were they good?
It's an awful test to do the actual real deal. We can calculate it to a pretty close approximation, but to do it on a treadmill or a stationary bike ergometer, with fully hooked up, and it's 100% effort, and it's just, you feel like you're going to die. But it's awful. So we have other ways of helping people exercise their VO max, their aerobic capacity above lactate thresholds that are much more civil.
Much more civil. Much better to do.
Good way to put it.
Yeah. Are you looking for high-quality supplements? FunMedShop.com is carefully curated by the wellness experts at Functional Medicine of Idaho. You'll find high-quality supplements to support your health and optimize your body's natural functions. Rooted in responsible sourcing and utmost commitment to purity ensures that you're getting products that are not only effective, but also safe and reliable. Plus, you'll find our own line, Functional Medicine Foundations, which is carefully formulated using the best ingredients available so you can trust that you're giving the body the support it needs. Visit FunMedShop.com today and take the next step in your health journey. That's funmedshop.com. So the whole idea, this is a good question for both of you. Keto for fat loss, keto for weight loss. I want to call it fat loss because that's what we're looking to target. But what's our approach? What have we learned? What have we done right?
Ooh, that's such a good question. It absolutely depends, as it always does, right?
Personal medicine.
Yeah. So for our women who are active, and I know Dr. H talks about this all the time, right? We are, especially younger women, right? Of, ages where we're still menstruating, we're trying to produce progesterone in healthy amounts. If we are just going crazy in the gym and we're not replenishing that glycogen and getting those carbohydrates, we're going to run into the ground.
Yep.
So, there's cases where it's not going to be appropriate. In cases of, we do see quite a few people who are quite sedentary, right? And we're trying to protect their lean muscle mass with some good protein. And keto gets a little bit dicey, right? When we start to up the protein, then we're going to kick out of ketosis. So it's really just about, what is that person's goals? How active are they? How much protein are they requiring? And in a lot of cases, it's quite a bit of protein.
Yep.
But yeah, I'll let Dr. H, because I know he's jonesing for the...
Well, and what other biomarkers too? We're talking about cholesterol. We can't just push somebody into keto if we don't know where they stand foundationally with some of these important biomarkers. So that's another one that I thought of when you were talking.
Yeah. How are they doing that? What kind of fats are they eating?
Yeah.
How much fiber are they eating?
The quality of food that they're consuming to get to ketosis. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the data is pretty clear now that the way that ketotic diets affect women in particular, it matters whether they're fit and exercising women or they're sedentary. Actually, there's a little bit more benefit if we read what's out there now to sedentary women with initially, at least with ketosis, in controlling blood sugar and maybe even some weight control. What's clear with women that are active is that if you follow them, it actually can lead to increased percent body fat and decreased percent lean muscle mass. The exact opposite reasons why they're doing this.
What's the mechanism there?
I don't know that they have that fully worked out.
I would think it'd be somewhat cortisol. I mean, it's probably not just one mechanism that's playing a role.
Yeah, I don't know that I have that nailed down, but I know that in reading the studies, it depends if they're active or sedentary and whether they're male or female. Come to find out, intermittent fasting, which was the darling, a few years ago, in women has a very different effect than in men. It does not do much for autophagy, come to find out. It's minimal. It does not do much for blood glucose control. And it doesn't do much at all other than switch the body composition in the wrong direction. More fat, less lean. All the opposite things that their husbands who make this half-assed attempt at it have this wonderful success. And for years I've heard that and wondered, well, what's going on there? The data is now showing that women actually aren't small men. They're different than us in a lot of ways. And we're seeing that intermittent fasting and ketotic diets aren't necessarily the answer. I think that the common thread with success with these programs has to do with getting enough of the right kind of clean proteins, fats, and avoiding simple carbs. Those seem to be what run as a common thread. And it's not the fact that they're eating bacon 3 times a day, and these things that are necessarily healthful. And boy, you get on the topic of saturated fat, which is related to ketosis. And that's a hot topic right now with palmitic acid and some of the tropical oils and inhibiting AMP kinase and longevity pathways. That's a whole nother discussion. But I think you got to be really aware now. Just generically applying ketosis to all women is not the necessarily the right move anymore.
Okay,
yeah, it needs to be so much more simple.
Peptides. So we're not saying no GLP-1s. We have seen extremely favorable outcomes with these GLP-1s.
Ozempic, tirzepatide.
Yep. Thank you. Yep. We, and not just with weight loss, we've seen improvement to inflammation in the body, inflammatory markers that we're measuring. We've seen improvement to mental health. For me and Hailie, I don't know what you've seen, but the food noise, what it's doing to the serotonergic pathway in the brain, that has honestly probably been the most impressive thing that I've seen with my female and my male clients on how it just calms the food noise so that they feel in control of what they're eating and not eating. It's really impressive. So we're definitely not saying we don't find those clinically very, very useful in this setting. For me personally, I want you to hear from you guys as well. I'm saying I'm definitely starting to use and have been using my GLP-1 agonists in a different way, different dosing, different patterns of them, and using a lot of other peptides to come and be siblings with these GLP-1 agonists to help people reach their goals. So, I would love to hear more about what you guys are thinking with some of the peptide protocols we've been using and will be using.
She's my partner in crime. because if we use body composition, BIA analysis, or DEXA scans as opposed to the scale weight, we get them on these shots, these GLP-1 agonists, which is basically a pharmacologic production of something that the cells in our small intestine make when we eat glucose already. And when we inject that once a week as a form, it's amazing how it does slow gastric emptying, so the appetite is quelled. It affects food noise craving and the serotonergic neuropeptides. It's got great cardiovascular benefits as well as some other things with glucagon and whatnot. But when it's done as a monotherapy and not coupled with an RD that is functionally trained on adequate protein nutrition to prevent the lean muscle mass. I mean, there was this big backlash to these drugs 12 months ago about how they caused lean muscle mass loss, when in fact the drugs themselves didn't do it. It was the fact that they were malnourished patients using the drugs.
Losing weight rapidly. They were never educated about the proper amount of the macronutrients they should be were going
getting.
to a drive-through GLP-1 clinic.
Exactly.
Or buying them from Canada or who knows where.
I'm not hungry, I just won't eat. I guess that's part of losing weight.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, I think when it's again, holism, when it's included in a nutritional program, the right kind of exercise, especially postmenopausal women where you've got this anabolic resistance going on, you've got to do those things to thwart massive muscle loss. We found it very, very successful here as part of the program. I think the thing that I was most interested in is life after GLP-1s. What other peptides are there, which we can talk about as we wrap up later. But I would love to know your opinion, having the onslaught of patients I've been sending your way in these packages on tirzepatide with my continual protein whip and resistance training. I mean, what do you see, Hailie?
You know what? I will be so honest. When I first started coming over here, I was working at FMI and the COH clinic is like doing peptides. And I was like, what's this all about? I don't know. And then, I'm realizing, I'm hearing all these controversial things, people saying, referring to it almost as liquid anorexia. And so that kind of stuck with me at first. And I was seeing that, honestly. I saw people who had maybe not the most healthy relationship with food coming in, not, everyone pretty much has disordered eating in our culture, I would say, to an extent. But coming in, just like finally thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have to eat. How amazing, right? Yeah. So they're not wanting to eat. They're not, And then they go to Dr. H and he's like, okay, you need to get this many grams of protein. And they come to me and they're like, I can't do that.
It's impossible.
Is he nuts?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just like thinking he's totally nuts. So we talk about, okay, smoothies, perfect meat, all these, lean proteins. And just seeing people actually be able to pause on the food noise, because for a lot of us, that rules our thinking, right?
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Maybe we're genetically prone to binge eating, right? We have kind of low dopamine levels at baseline. We're super stressed out. That's our coping mechanism. We haven't really learned other ways to deal with that in a healthy manner.
Right.
Now that opens the door to these other discussions, these other conversations. Right. How can we kind of take this time to reset, look a little bit more closely at the quality of foods that we're getting, versus people, when it's kind of taking over your thoughts, you're not always in the driver's seat, kind of get into autopilot.
I think it was you, Hailie, that first, brought the idea up my way. It might have been you, Amber, both of you, about microdosing and going every other week, splitting the dosing, where some of the things we've learned and we're going to be, I think, doing differently, and that we're doing, I think, already now, is we're playing with these doses of these medicines so that we find what I call the sweet spot, where the food noise is gone, but you still have an appetite of sorts, where they don't feel like they're coming in like last 6 months ago. I feel like I'm having to force feed to get this protein in so I don't lose lean muscle mass. My next thought is, you might be on a little bit too much of the medication. Yeah. Let's bring your appetite back up just a little bit. And that has worked magic.
Yes, it has.
And you've referred to it, I think, as microdosing, Amber, so those are things that we've done wrong that we, I think, learned from in the practical application of this. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Totally. Yeah.
Microdosing is my new best friend because, and everybody needs to start at, and we need, everyone's, it's personal, right? Like I now have, the nurses are so great, but they no longer give me the handout that says the typical doses, right? It's all blanks because I fill in my own schedule for each client. Now that we've been doing this for a year and a half, almost 2 years, it's like I now have a pretty good handle on where most people need to start and how quickly they can go up. And it's to me now, it's like a hormone. You start low and you go slow. Because there's so many more advantages to doing it that way than there are the opposite. It's a peptide. It is very innate to the body, but it is still a pharmaceutical. And if you get the pharmaceutical, you have very standard dosing you have to follow. And so we get this medication compounded from a specialty compounding pharmacy that we trust and have a very good relationship with. And therefore we can customize doses. And I think without that ability, I think a lot of the reaction out in the medical world is probably legit with this peptide because it's not being paired with the right team and the right approach, and the doses, they're flat out just too high. Yeah, they're just too high, and you see all the benefits of this peptide that we just talked through at the lower doses of it. You don't have to go high to see a lot of these benefits, even the cardiovascular benefits. It's pretty profound.
I've never seen in my 35 years of medicine anything that works like this for weight loss. Unfortunately, the 85% failure rate, if that's all you do, speaks to the fact that it has to be done in a holistic perspective.
Absolutely.
It demands it. There really isn't a magic bullet. You can't just own your physiology for 6 months, turn off the switch, and expect it not to revert back to where it was.
Absolutely. And then I think right now, a lot of people are really speaking to some of the side effects we're seeing of this medication. And my response to a lot of those clients or a lot of the colleagues I talk to are, okay, but I'm using 1/10 of the dose and I'm not seeing those side effects. I'm just not. So we can have that same argument for the side effect profile as well that we're seeing. So yeah, it's really powerful. And then I think we now have a lot more both scientific data and anecdotal data on other peptides that we're pairing. These growth hormone secretagogues that I know I love. I would say I prescribe them almost as much as I do some of these weight loss peptides. Because again, it's so much more about weight loss, it's fat loss, and it's anti-aging precision medicine, and it's improving collagen and stabilizing cortisol and improving sleep. We haven't even talked about sleep. And I personally with my weight loss patients have learned that I have to start there. That's a non-negotiable. If I get why even have the discussion about exercise if my clients aren't sleeping, right? They really shouldn't be doing much if they're not sleeping because their cortisol is going to be, totally wackadoo. Sleep is just so instrumental and foundational to getting these people mentally and metabolically healthy. For them to even be able to begin a weight loss journey, right? And we have peptides we have tons of great supplements that help with sleep and different, lifestyle modifications that help with sleep. But I've got phenomenal peptides if we can't get our patients sleeping that can really help with sleep. And the growth hormone peptides are one of those that really help with that deep sleep. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah, we have kind of this weight loss phase and then optimizing body composition phase that's looking more at supporting things like growth hormone without having to give growth hormone that's fraught with concerns.
Right.
But what you said triggered a memory about what you alluded to, Hailie, and that's that low energy availability, this LAE phenomena.
Right. When
there's a lack of fuel going to the body. It's not just a detox issue. It's not just a weight loss issue. When there's not enough energy to support your activity for the day, you have endocrine disruption, you have problems with menstruation, fertility, you have problems with the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the thyroid gets affected. So not getting enough in has huge repercussions almost every system I can think of.
Right.
LAE in particular is known to cause immune dysfunction. I mean, how many Tour de France athletes are isolated because if there's a virus in the camp, they're done. Their immune systems are on such a razor's edge.
Yeah.
There's problems with gut dysbiosis and microbial imbalances with low energy availability. So it goes far beyond just body composition and weight. This whole discussion of adequate fueling, I think, needs to replace the dialogue of caloric restriction.
I love that so much. Yeah, that's so good. Hailie, what's the name of your program you've designed?
Great segue. It is called
Love that.
Nourish to Thrive.
Nourish to Thrive.
Right.
I love it. I love it.
So kind of the idea of you already have that most actualized, the best version of yourself, just waiting to be unearthed. So we just need to nourish that and really kind of take care of our bodies and get away from this, state of deprivation, right? How do we kind of get those nutrients on board to be our best selves?
That's wonderful. And it's a program you'll be offering out of both, really all three of our clinics here in Eagle, Center for Optimal Health, and then our Boise and Meridian FMI clinics. You'll be offering this program, and it's going to be able to, if you want to work individually, of course, but mostly in a group setting for all the reasons that we discussed before, which is so amazing. Who do you think is the most optimal client to come join this Nourish to Thrive program?
I would say we address so many things. It can fit most anybody, but
good.
I would suspect my 40 plus females that have been struggling with their relationship with food for a long time. And we have that metabolic dysfunction, maybe just behind the scenes that we're really not aware of.
Right.
Just kind of on this journey for so long, feeling so frustrated. We're going to learn in this program about a little bit of that detox stuff, right? What kind of nutrients do we need? How do we support that? We're going to do that genetic testing, and we're going to see your unique blueprint. We're going to use those CGMs, and we're going to learn about what is your body doing in response to these carbohydrate-rich foods, right? Can you tolerate, maybe you've heard oats are horrible, never eat those, but maybe you actually do just fine. We put some chia seeds in there, we add some extra fats and protein, and we're all good. We don't need to worry about that. So, I would say almost anyone, but if you're sick and tired of this journey, then I feel like it would be a great environment, for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been very intentional that we want this 8-week program under our umbrella of our new updated weight loss programs. We're thrilled. So thank you for all of your effort and your time and your research that you've put into developing this program, because it will be so exciting to launch it. So,
Hailie's input on the continuous glucose monitor has been just amazing. Because we'll say, hey, she'll print out the report and give the average. And I'll say, are there alarms for low blood sugar going off at night? Because this thing reads 24/7. And, we'll find out, well, yes, I had to turn the thing off. It was driving me nuts. Well, you're getting low blood sugar at night. Guess what happens with your cortisol? Your brain senses that drop in sugar and obligates the adrenal to go to the liver and wring out glucose until it can go back to sleep. Now the cortisol shot up and you're awake.
Yeah.
So it's a cause for not just insomnia, but it's also a cause for a lot of these high blood sugar, thinner people that we were talking about earlier. So having these CGMs, even though they're not a perfect science, they're helpful.
Very helpful.
And very convenient, especially to finding these people that have this reactive hypoglycemia at night that's driving their physiology the other way and sabotaging losing belly fat, because cortisol just puts it right back there.
Yeah.
Well, and I love, I think historically we've said, yeah, great, let's get, especially if your insurance can cover it, or if not, just pay for one of the CGMs for 14 days. But within this program, it's like before and after, right? Like, let's see the issue, but let's also prove to our patients and empower our patients that they fixed the issue, right? That they've stabilized their blood sugar, and they're not seeing these highs and lows anymore, and they're not seeing their blood sugar do crazy things in that postprandial window. So I love that we're also going to be doing the follow-up to that, so that the patient can see that, and then they know how they feel when it's working, right? They can really put those things together and fix, start to put that piece together. This is how I feel when my blood sugar is stable, so that they know it's working long term for them.
But 2.0, to answer your question, what is it going to look like? It's going to include the CGMs. We've got the bioimpedance body composition assessments throughout the course, because you can't do it without. We have to know what your toxin load is. We need a more structured nutritional piece as opposed to 3 visits where there's addressing all of those issues. We need the genetic evaluation.
Gut microbiome testing.
We need the gut microbiome. What's
that we didn't include in everybody before. Some more advanced supplement protocols. We've learned really the key supplements to helping with insulin resistance, prediabetes, and then long-term weight loss.
And life beyond the initial peptides. Looking at the other peptides.
Ongoing peptide therapies.
Ongoing improvement in shredding. I like saying that word. Shredding peptides.
I love that. Shredding peptides.
Women like that too. When
we
talk about shredding, they're like, I can get into that.
Heck
We want to be shredded. That's not a gender thing.
They don't necessarily want to be bulky.
Shreddedness.
They don't want to have big and I say,
that's true.
Don't worry about that. We're not doing this to have huge arms, which you don't want to go sleeveless because you're embarrassed because your arms are bigger than your husband. We're not going to do that.
No.
Although that's kind of cool.
No, I say I want to walk through the grocery store and have someone be like, what do you do for workouts? Because it's working. You want somebody to recognize the hard work you put in.
There's definition. You're cut.
Right.
Yes.
But it's not.
The eye is drawn.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But more importantly, you go outside, you do some landscaping, and you're hopping around in your terraces. You feel 20 years younger.
Did you call it a terrace?
Yeah, when you terrace your backyard.
Yeah, I just haven't heard that in a long time. Terrace.
Yeah.
You said shred, which is cool, but then you followed up with terrace.
My backyard is all terrace. Yeah. So
I don't know. I'm on my patio sipping coffee. I'm not sure what a terrace is.
The veranda.
Anyways, so good. Yeah, I think I know there's so many details of the program and of what we're really looking at but it's personalized medicine. So everyone's exact testing and exact outcome and the protocol and procedure we follow is going to be a little bit unique to them. But for the most part, I think we've put together a really comprehensive, very thorough weight loss program that I'm so excited to start running with. So for those of you listening, if you go to our website, fmioptimal.com and search the resources tab, that'll pull down and you can see the Weight Loss 2.0 program. You'll also be able to see Hailie's if you wanted to do her separate Thrive to Nourish program, that will be listed under there as well. And we're just so excited to bring these offerings to you. Anything else that we maybe didn't address with what we're offering? What we're doing differently, I really think we hit it all.
I think to piggyback on what you just said is that there's kind of a price point for any consumer.
Yeah, absolutely.
As an a la carte option versus the whole enchilada.
Yeah. The goal is really this weight loss program. We've learned 5 months wasn't long enough, so we're hoping for more of like a 12-month, 1 year to have adequate follow up and not lose anybody, not have anybody fall through the cracks, not having long-term success. But we, as always, here at least at Center for Optimal Health, we have so many different levels of engagement, and we're always applying what we're continuing to learn and have learned to each and every client, each and every level of engagement.
Come to a consult, learn about it, and we'll personalize it. And if it makes sense, I think it'll be a great step in your journey.
Yeah. Thank you too, as always, for spending your time with us to just continue to spread truth in medicine and spread just the realness that we're doing here. So thank you so much.
Honored. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Functional Medicine Foundation's podcast. For more information on topics covered today, specialties available at the FMI Center for Optimal Health, and the highest quality of supplements and more, go to funmedfoundations.com.